Here, you can exercise your rights to freedom every day without leaving your home. We don't just say, we do. It's the Stain City way.
Hello and welcome to Real Talk on SABC3. The stage is yours. Growing up in Orlando, East Soweto, my guest today was known as one of the clevers, that walked the township streets. Her parents' ethos was to allow her to express herself from a very young age. In doing so, they were laying down the foundation that would produce a powerhouse of a woman. In her second year of university, she began laying down her broadcasting roots as a reporter for network radio news and would go on to host the afternoon drive shows on very successful radio stations like Kai FM as well as 702. Never one to settle for doing just one thing, she's also anchored and presented for some of the world's most respected television news networks, including eNews channel, Sky News, the BBC, as well as Aljazeera. Her passion for current affairs has seen her engage in interviews with the most influential of heavyweights, such as President Jacob Zuma, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Colin Powell, Tony Blair, Hugh Masekela, Bono from U2, as well as the late Nelson Mandela. It is still her wish to have one sit-down, though, with the former president of the USA, Barack Obama. Her own colleagues called her the Beyonce of radio when she did her final show as the host of the afternoon drive on 702. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been asking for her. We have been begging her. And she is here. She is Redi Tlhabi. She is on Real Talk.
Hello, Anele. I'm delighted to be here, my darling. Thanks for inviting me.
Dude, first things first, Torians unite.
You and I'm telling you. And our children, Kumo and your little one.
Leo.
Yeah, August. Yeah,
So basically,
something's
I'm
happening.
copying you.
I don't think so.
Did you?
No, none of that.
No, it's not like that. Not like that at all.
I don't think so. Your mark is too big.
So is yours. And this
Thank
is
you,
the
darling.
thing. I still remember when we were on campus radio, you were just like this person. It's almost like people knew then it was Redi Tlhabi, right? You could never even point her out in the streets, but there was a name. Redi Tlhabi.
And you had to add the campus thing just to remind me how old I am.
But I mean, have you ever felt like that pressure of being like this person, the stalwart in broadcasting?
Absolutely not, because I think I'm always one of those presenters who was committed to the content. I remember when I was at the SABC, my makeup wasn't right and my jacket wasn't fitting right, and everybody was saying, couldn't you see that you were not okay for the show? I said, I don't care. And the supervisor was saying, that's because your mind was on the interview. So I never quite tapped into how big this was until the final months, actually. I think for me, it was always about the story and the content and whether I can do it in a great way. And because there were so many people before me who were doing it before me and during my time, it never occurred to me that there was something big.
Because you know what it is? It's a big thing, this whole appearance thing, right?
Okay.
And when you're too busy like doing your work, you're just like, hi guys, leave me alone, leave me alone. But would you not agree that when you get the content right and whatever, because I mean, you write the way, but then you also get like the I don't know, the PR aspect, right? It just kind of comes together and makes you a little bit more of a force.
Yeah, I think the PR is inevitable. It follows you.
True.
I mean, right now, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that, I've been retired for about 3 weeks. I've been so busy. I thought that July was going to be the month to recharge my batteries and sleep. None of that has happened. The panel discussions, the things, and it's inevitable. I think that when you do certain things and you do them in a certain way, there are inevitable forces that come with it. And I resisted them for quite a while, but eventually when I gave in to them, they became easier to navigate.
I know, because your bio on Twitter says, I don't do MC gigs. Don't ask me.
That was before I became unemployed.
Now you're like, my agent's number is.
Absolutely. I just, you know what it was, Anele? I was doing talks, but I didn't want to over-commercialize it. I would do my charity gigs, I would do my gender equality issues, which I feel very, very strongly about. But I just never wanted it on my CV that I'm available to do those things. They still came, I'm flattered, but I had to manage them. Otherwise, you end up moving from one event to another and forgetting what life is about.
So speaking of balance, I was reading an article. You said that you grew up in a house where there was you're like, your parents were strict, like it was the military, but there was just also so much love. Now that's a balance, right? That takes a lot of doing to create a home where there's rules, but you feel loved, you know, the entire time. And I also, like you said, there were consequences for people who stepped out of line.
There were consequences for behavior. My brother and I never got away with wrongdoing, never. And I actually think now I confront my mom from time to time, like, Nilietsang, I mean, what are you doing? Why were you so hard on us? And I think sometimes we must yield and forgive our parents because that's the only way that's the only way they knew. I mean, they were not abusive, absolutely not.
Just like a little strict.
Yeah, they were too strict. And I think for me, the issue was not even the strictness. It was the fact that parents in my environment just never explained what was wrong with the behavior. They punished you before they explained. And I always remember walking away feeling so powerless and thinking, I can't wait to grow up and be an adult. Then nobody's going to treat me like this. You can't come and punish me. And I'm talking all adults, not just my parents, teachers, everybody in church, all of that. You can't just punish me without, it's a cop-out as an adult. You're punishing me, but you haven't told me.
So are you thinking like that already as a child?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking these things. I would look at the adults and thinking, are these people mad? Or why are they so stupid? Of course, I would not say that to their face.
Yeah.
To me, there was something illogical about the way we were disciplined. You did something and then got a hiding. To me, it felt like we should negotiate. To me, it felt like you should say, this is what you did. You can't do this kind of thing.
Then you must
and
be like,
this is why you shouldn't do it.
And then you must be like, okay, I agree that I'm wrong. So let's both decide on the punishment.
Yeah, exactly. But also, Anele, you know, for all my loudness and papari, I'm actually quite a coward. I don't like being in trouble. I don't like being in trouble. Even at school, I wasn't the rebellious. I'll challenge something that is an injustice, for sure. But overall, I just towed the line because there are bigger battles to fight.
Yeah.
And so if you told me that something was not allowed, I never did it. So to get punished for something that if you just said, this is not allowed.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
You understand?
Is that this is the first time I've done this.
Yeah.
No one has said it's wrong.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, fine. If you're standing outside with a boy, if you've never said to me, I may not stand with boys on the corner.
I don't know about that one.
No, but come
that's
on
the
now.
one I would have broken.
No,
but yeah.
Come on, Mom. If you've never said to me, I can't smell that I'm not allowed to stand outside with a boy.
Of course.
If you say don't stand outside with boys, now I know.
Exactly.
But you can't see me do it for the first time and then I get
give me a
beating.
hiding. And I mean, I was never a repeat offender. In fact, I say that to my mom, that a lot of the things that I got punished for were new things. I never repeated the same mistake. Because I think part of saying you're sorry is committing to not doing the same thing again. And that's something that I carry in my adulthood. If I say I'm sorry for something, I really work hard not to do it again.
I think as a kid, this is where this name that you've built yourself came from. Because when people came onto your show, we knew. Listen.
Wasn't that bad, man?
No. And here's the thing. I don't see why you don't see that it was like that.
I'm actually quite gentle. Nina, sorry, you look like you don't believe me. No, but I think I'm fair. I think because I'm fair, I don't see this roasting. I mean, I remember somebody who had a meeting with the late Collins Chaban.
Yes.
The late minister.
Yeah.
And I was interviewing a certain minister who was in trouble. And Collins Chabani and this person were listening.
Yeah.
And Collins Chabani turned around to this person and said, I would not go on Redi's show if I were in trouble. And I'm thinking, why? If you're telling the truth and I'm fair. So.
You know what? Here's the thing. I think you mistake the fact that you are not, yes, tell us why you did that, for you not being a little bit of a beast when it comes to breaking down grown men, right? But it's because you're quite soft as well. You're like, no, wait, that's not what I asked. You know, when someone's trying to play, you're like, no, wait, that's not what I asked. And I think you don't realize that. But honestly, I'd be scared to come onto your show.
A cousin of mine told me that she used to switch off the radio because she thought, this man, you know, they're going to hit you. Stop asking, stop. You know what, Anele? I think because a lot of the hard-hitting, robust contestation, the ones that degenerated into fireworks, there was never any malice or anything personal. And I'm quite able to clash with someone now, and in 5 minutes it's finished. So I never understood when I see politicians in public places and they look at me like this. I'm like, oh, what's wrong with this one?
We were at work,
yeah,
baby.
we're at work. It's over. It's finished. And yet there are many others who you would really have a fight with them. And then the next day you're sitting next to them at a wedding and things are great. So I think because for me it was never personal. So, and even when we get accused that you are against this one, against that, dude, when the microphone is off, I get in my car, go have a glass of wine at home. I don't carry these things. Do you understand what I mean?
I leave this here.
Yeah, and also it's not a fight. It isn't a fight. So I never understood it as a combative environment, but I actually want to be respected because I respect you as my guest. I do my homework. I see you have to. I do my homework as a sign of deference and respect for you. So the last thing I'm going to tolerate is someone coming to the studio and just lying, and when they're lying, wanting to co-opt me into the lie. I mustn't say anything.
Now I must agree with you.
Yeah, now I must agree with you.
And I am accountable to the listeners.
Yeah.
That's the thing people don't understand is that I'm accountable to someone.
Yeah.
Someone is going to say, no, now why didn't you ask that?
Yeah.
And then I'm the one now who's got homework for you lying.
Absolutely. And Anele, on a bigger issue as well, this is also about representing the voice that is powerless.
Yeah.
You know, the company for which you work, that I worked for up until recently, a lot of our work, we called commercial stations, but let's be honest, a lot of the stuff that we did was community media type of stuff. Now, all those people are people who are desperate because institutions are not working.
No one's listening to them.
No one is listening. The ambulance is not arriving when it's supposed to
Your grandmother
arrive.
said, I'm not the panado, go
Orlando. Yeah, my grandmother said that, and
Yeah.
it's true. And all sorts of things. So when those people come to us and they tell us that this is what's going on, and the minister or councillor or corporate responsible for that wants to sit there and give me some spin, no, try somewhere else.
Not gonna happen, boo-boo. Not here. Listen, not only do you get to enjoy an insightful hour with Redi Tlhabi, she will answer all of your questions. Send us your 20-second WhatsApp voice note to the number that you see on the screen right now, and she'll respond to you directly. We'll see you on the other side of the break. And welcome back to Real Talk on SABC3. The stage is yours. Our guest today is broadcasting royalty. Redi Tlhabi. In May this year, many fans of Redi's afternoon drive show were left shattered when news emerged that she'd be departing from 702 to begin new challenges on a fellowship program in the United States. On the last day of her show, 702 took to their Facebook page to ask the question, what's been your favorite Redi Tlhabi clapback moment? I mean, come on. So, I'm going to read your tweets and then I'm going to remind her of my favorite moment. Yondazi Hlango says, Redi is everything with a Rebecca Malobe, Jesus jealous down Bazala in a caption. Love Redi's thinking, love her aura, her presence is quite striking. Mamu Remi says, Redi Tlhabi, greatness in the studio. And then Rohula Black says, please ask Redi to do her famous radio greeting. Oh, how I miss her already. Hello, everybody.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, everybody. I don't know how that started, but
that's the one. And then it just became a thing, right?
But John Robbie once said to me, don't stop that. Need to what? The way you greet, how do I greet? But the way you start your show. You like me to, I just say hello. And I find even off air, when I say hello, I never just say, I say hello, hello. Hello. Good morning, good morning. I don't know why I do that. It's just but it's funny that John Robbie, a veteran, said to me, you know what, that signature greeting, I said, there's no signature greeting. But obviously it was a habitual thing. And then ultimately I was aware of it because everywhere I went, people were telling me about it. And whoever sent that tweet, I got on a plane the one time from Cape Town to Johannesburg a couple of years ago, and somebody's phone rang. And it said, hello, hello, everyone. I'm like, what on earth just happened?
I'd be upset that I wasn't making money from that.
I don't want to think about it.
Because imagine how much money. Listen, you must think like Casper on your vest sometimes. Eh? There's money to be made. There's money to be made.
Darling.
So I remember my favorite clapback for you was with Esetu, what's his name?
I don't know what's his name.
Look, either way.
I remember the incident.
Yeah, either way. Listen, he went on a rant and you just kept quiet and you left him. And then you said, are you done? I held my teeth together, okay? Even my gap closed for that day. Because I didn't want any air to come in. And then you just laid it down for him.
And you know, that's another thing. When people talk about personal fights and malice, you get shocked because I didn't rehearse. I didn't know he was going to call. And what had happened there is, I don't even remember, but I know he'd been tweeting me the previous day and I ignored him. I didn't respond to whatever it is he was saying. And then he obviously thought I'm going to be the first caller. And then he came on. And the thing is, on social media, one has a choice not to engage. But when someone phones your show, you can't say, I'm not going to respond to that.
And also, they are a listener. Before they are a government spokesperson, before they are, you know, in their professional capacity, they're a listener. And if a listener's talking to you on the radio, you answer.
So he brought it on the radio, whatever it was. I don't even remember.
I don't remember the fight. All I remember is, are you done?
Oh. But you know, apparently it got, not apparently, now I know, it got so big that it went to the broadcasting company. I wasn't aware until the ruling. Our colleague Eusebius and other people were tweeting about the Broadcasting Complaints Directorate's feedback. And I said,
rules in favor of you.
I didn't know it had gone that far. But you know what? I suppose we're testing these institutions, we're testing these public officials, and we do what we have to do. And I think sometimes there is an ambush on air. And I think you would know this as a broadcaster. It's very easy for people to accuse you of something you haven't said or something you didn't mean. And I think it's always very important, and I've learned this, to always ask, what do you mean? Before you respond. Did I understand you correctly? So people impose meanings on you and start unnecessary fights. I'm not going to roll over and die, because it's not true, you know, some of the things that are said.
But have you always felt that this is the way it is? Or because like your trajectory in broadcasting, you kind of went like this, and then soon enough you just became like this name, right? Like I was saying earlier, that like now it's Redi Tlhabi, but it was Redi Tlhabi, like, you know, you don't want to get into a debate with her. You don't want to, you know, has it always been like that where you're on your guard all the time about people, knowing that people want to catch you out?
You know what? I think that I'm not conscious of it because this job for me was never a performance. It was about truth. So if I have a debate with someone, it's because I genuinely believe those things that I say. And also, I think it would be dangerous to create this kind of aura and fear that you don't want to debate with that person. Everything is contestable. Because quite frankly, with everyone, quite frankly, there are no holy cows. If I had applied that same you can't debate with this one attitude, I would never have challenged the people that I've challenged. From Tony Blair to Thabo Mbeki to Kofi Annan. I would never have, because I would have felt that they are overwhelming and big, and I'm diminishing my stature. And I really think, at a professional and personal level, I think if we just took a deep breath and held our shoulders a bit higher, we'd be able to confront the things that we're supposed to confront and the people that we're supposed to confront. What do I mean by that? And not treat people like these no-go zones. Nobody is a no-go area. And that is the problem with power. Power seldom puts a mirror to its face. We are that mirror as society. So when you say that certain people are not to be challenged, certain people are not to be questioned, then you're creating a problem. And it's an irony that I kind of developed the reputation that you shouldn't challenge me when I'm trying to do
that's
the
exactly
opposite. Let's have it. Let's have it. But don't think that because you're shouting and screaming, now I'm going to run away. I don't do those things.
And it's so strange because I was also listening to one interview of yours and you said something, and it was, out of all the speeches that Barack Obama had said, that one line is what I took out of as well. When he became president in 2008 and he said, I will listen to you, especially when we disagree. And for me, I just feel like across the board, be it politicians, be it broadcasters, that's what the vibe should be.
That's what it should be. Thank you so very much. And another thing, Anele, is that what people don't notice, and if you one had the time and you bored and you listened to my interactions with the callers that I've disagreed with the most, you'll find that I gave them more time than everyone else. Precisely because I wanted to dilute, I wanted to annihilate that perception. Let me hear what you're saying. Yoguti, you're cutting me off because you disagree. Of course, when they can't win the debate, that's what they accuse you of. And life is like that. If I accuse you of something you haven't done, the debate has now changed because now you're spending time defending yourself against this false accusation rather than dealing with that matter that brought us together. So I did find in my journey that people would accuse of all sorts of things, like if it's a white person, you listen more. If it's a black person, how do I prove that that's not true? You know, so the point is we obfuscate. You can exhaust and expend your energy on the wrong things. But it was a deliberate tactic of mine. When somebody came to me with much heat and anger and all of that, that's when I gave them more time. All
right, we've got a WhatsApp voice note. Well, we've got lots, but this is the one we're going to go to right now.
Okay. This is Zethu, and I'm a huge fan of Redi. I wanted to hear from her what are some of the biggest lessons that she's learned from her failures. We know of her successes because they've been well documented, but what is the one thing she's learned from failing?
You're taking me right back because the one, I know it doesn't matter right now, but you need to think of it as me as a 17-year-old. I was primed to be a deputy head girl. That was the belief out there. And I think a lot of my peers fed me this nonsense that I started believing it myself. It's nothing now, but it was then.
No, babe, it was everything.
It was everything. And so they called out the names of the prefects. We already knew we were prefects. And then they call the heads of the hostel. Now, if your name is not on the heads of the hostel, you're not deputy.
You're not deputy.
So I didn't even make head of hostel. I was gutted. I was embarrassed more than anything because I like to excel. I do.
And you were that person where everyone else thought like, Redi's got it, miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what, Anele, I'm not going to be apologetic about it. I do like to be amongst the best, because I think there can be lots of people who are the best. There isn't the better than this one.
Yeah.
We can be 10 and still the best.
But
you know
if we're
what I
all
mean?
prefects, that's great. But
I like to distinguish myself. You know, I like,
and also, I don't know about you, but for us, if you were a prefect, you would just say prefect, and then if it was a deputy, it would have a little hanging
and
thing.
something around the blazer, that orange thing that just made you.
I know it because I made deputy.
You see, so I missed out on that. But also at university as well, I had wanted to get a distinction in English because I love literature, and I didn't, and I missed it by about, I think, 2%. And I went to the lecturer to negotiate. Good, come on, how could I? Maybe if you look again, and he said, no, you didn't earn an A, you didn't earn it. You know, I walked away, shoulders slumped, my head bowed a little lower.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you got that feeling in your throat, like you swallowed
it's
oranges.
a lump, and you don't know if you're gonna cry.
Yeah. You know, and can I tell you what that taught me? It taught me that sometimes your best is enough. And what you define as your best is when you can look at this project and say, I gave it my best. I don't need that 2% to make it an A. That 70, whatever it was, that was the best that I could do. And also, I am not waking up tomorrow with the burdens of today. I'm not. I live like that. What hurt me, what devastated me, what weakened me on this day, the 17th of July on Monday.
Not coming tomorrow.
Tomorrow, your party is over. You must go, because I've got a life to live. And I learned that very early on, because when you wake up in the morning and you don't want to get out of bed because of things that have already happened, there was something that hit me, Guti, there's no logic to this. There's no logic. We're not talking death, because that's painful for a very long time. Yeah. But, okay, so this thing happened, Izolo, and nanamhlanje, you're still carrying this. Let it go. And I feel sorry for myself, eh? Mina, I can sit here and cry for 2 hours. When I'm sad, whoa, I can sit and cry for 2 hours. But when I'm done,
it's over. Listen, I can guarantee you one thing that will happen during this interview is that pearls of wisdom are going to be dropped, okay? Make sure you do not miss out. Stay with us, more with Redi Tlhabi after the break. I know that deputy thing, eh? Welcome back to Real Talk. I hope you are thoroughly enjoying your time with this phenomenal woman, Redi Tlhabi. And clearly you are, because your tweets are coming in fast and heavy. I don't know which data must fall when you guys are clearly fine. From at Kanya Musinki, Redi Tlhabi is a force, guys, full stop. At Pololo_Pit, this one refuses to be lied to. Okay? I'm scared of you. Wow, I love Redi. Her assertiveness is everything. She actually makes me want more for myself. Oh, that's nice.
That's wonderful.
That's a wonderful
good
one.
Validation. It's to be admired for the right things.
For the right things. It's like somebody watches you like, I can do better than what I'm doing for myself.
Exactly.
Right
and
now.
I think sometimes that's the key that unlocks, not the sponsoring and the mentoring or hanging around, taking selfies with famous people. Sometimes that's not it. Sometimes it's unlocking that ingredient within yourself.
Who unlocked yours?
My father. I think my father unlocked I mean, he was so uneducated, but so clever and suave, and had command of every language that he spoke, from Setswana, Xhosa, English, Afrikaans. He just was a hustler. He got on with life. He had this magnetic personality, handsome, tall, all of those things. And I think the way he loved me just kind of made me feel right.
I know you said that the one regret you have when it comes to your father is that, you know, you were so busy mourning him when he passed away that the family, extended family, took all his LPs, and you wish you had like collected them so that you could play his music even to your children.
You know, darling, I think about those LPs all the time. Jazz, soul, whatever. There was so many, there was no space. We lived in a 3-roomed house. There was no space for those LPs. But I'm an in-law, and my mom was this young widow, also bewildered. So those things,
you know, in your weakest moment, that's when they came in and just
people
took
came
everything.
In. And you know, I wish I'd done what a friend of mine told me she did, because her father died, and then his relatives came telling the widow and the children that I dreamt about your father. This is what he says. We must take this and this. And then she was like, "Listen, your father died, mine died. Can each one of us each dream about their own father?
Yeah, leave us.
Don't come to me. I'll dream about my own father. You dream about yours. We're fine. But other things that I miss of my father's, believe it or not, you know those old beer jugs? I don't drink beer, but those
that look like the glass could break a wall.
We had a cupboard full because my dad owned a shebeen in the 60s and early 70s. We had so many of those, and those trays and those old style
openers.
I just wish we'd kept some of that stuff, but we didn't, and life goes on.
But I mean, you were 9 when he passed away,
Yeah.
and you were like the last born and the girl, right? So, like you say, he doted on you. The day you find out, who tells you that your dad's passed away?
Oh my word! It's Sunday, 26 July, 1987. I'm visiting relatives in Mzumhlophe, Soweto. And I was accompanying my friends, my neighbors' children to church because I was the visitor. I was from Orlando.
Yeah.
I was just in Mzumhlophe for the weekend. So I'm excited because I'm going to this church that I never go to. It's a Sunday. I'm dressed. We're ready. And 2 of my father's friends walk in very early in the morning. I mean, it's like 8:30. Who comes to people's houses at 8:30? 2 of them very close, very, very close friends. And they just walk in and greeted. And the one, I still remember him, Papa Mkheseng, who's in Orlando East now, and the one that Nkosi passed away a couple of years ago. They just looked at us. I mean, our houses are small. And I remember the words. They used to call him Blaza. And then they said, Blaza ushile, like he's gone.
Blaza's gone.
And the aunt starts screaming and that commotion. But it's funny how, can I tell you what I thought about at that moment? You're too young to have watched Santa Barbara.
Oh, Santa Barbara! Don't tell me that.
Mason, Kelly, all those people.
Contessa or something. Yeah, don't worry.
So we used to watch that at home. And there was always a dramatic thing when someone looked like they were about to die. They'd all come in. Bayenza, that medical term my husband tells me all the time. But
resuscitation.
Clear.
Yeah. Clear.
And the person always wakes up because that thing goes...
And then as it's coding, then they come back.
So when Tatum Kheseng just said Plaza Sheila, I thought, it's grand, Muslento. Santa Barbara, they must just find him and his chest. He's gonna come back. Of course, that didn't happen. And I remember with the adults screaming and wailing, thinking, can I say something?
What did you want to say?
We need to do this thing quickly.
Go Santa Barbara on it.
Go Santa Barbara on it. We need to do it. But that's what I remember. I remember a crazy moment of my father lying in the streets. At this time, I was now in Orlando because it took long to collect the body and all of that. And just the circus, you know, the circus. You know, I think people are fascinated by death.
Of course.
And when it's gory, we see how people drive past
he
an
was
accident.
murdered.
He was murdered. He was stabbed.
Was it a robbery?
Who knows?
Also, you've never known.
It's a 30-year mystery.
Oh, gosh.
It's a 30-year mystery. He was meant to have been somewhere with my mom on a Saturday. My mom left by herself. I think there'd been an argument, as married people argue, and this one sulks, doesn't go, no crisis. But it was their last interaction because he hung out with friends that afternoon. And he'd gone to a funeral, and he was a comedian. And he told someone, you know, Bo Mama, as they dish up in the queue, he told them, hey, give me more meat. You know, if you don't give me meat, you're not going to get meat when there's a funeral at my house. And you know, with black people, that became so significant.
Like you won't get the drumstick. You're like, easy.
So there was that kind of exchange, but because he was that kind of guy. But so it's from the little that we know, he'd gone out with friends because he loved his drink. He loved to have a good time. He'd gone out with friends, and they say in the early hours of Sunday morning, they walked. I mean, you could walk from that one's house to. So they parted as they were walking.
Sharp.
Yeah, and it doesn't look as if somebody just bambingunzi. How do you say that in English? Like that robbery, like a pickpocketer. No, it doesn't look like it because he reached home. He arrived at home because you know the blood stains were at home. So whatever happened there, and we don't know who, what, why. You hear people's names being mentioned, but you know, you grow up and you realize that you can harm people's reputations by associating them with a murder that you haven't proven. So there were always names of guys.
But also, you can't look at them the same way again. You're like, no, Kanina.
Yeah,
guys,
all of you.
You guys.
I think that's part of the reason we moved from Orlando East, actually.
Yeah.
It is, because my mom, life had changed, you know. She was this young widow, and she actually did say to me that apart from wanting a safer environment, we moved to the East Rand and Spruit and what have you. Apart from that was a clean slate, starting again, because she and my dad had lived in that house all their lives. They got married there, they dated.
You can't look at the same cupboard in the same lounge.
And also not knowing who's a friend and what's going on, you know. So I'm sure she went through a period where she was not sure of where she belonged. And with my adult mind, I have so much empathy for her. So, you know, Anele, the long and short of it is it was a brutal, bloody murder, but no one knows who done it.
Okay, so we're going to go to ad break. Before we do that, there's another voice note of somebody just wanting to give you some love. We'll have a listen to it, and then we're going to go into the break.
Hi, Redi. It's Katlego Maimane from Dobsonville, Extension 3. I just want to say you are our national treasure. Like, you inspire me so much. I look up to you. And all the best with moving to New York. I'll still be following you. Thank you so much.
We'll be back after the break. And welcome back to Real Talk. Today we have the honor of having the one and the only Redi Tlhabi joining us. You know, for all the hard work that she's known for, Redi also has a rich family life as a wife and a mother. In her own words, she admitted that marriage changed her priorities, adding that she doesn't want to be part of the rat race where relationships just do not matter. Your tweets, this feels like I'm watching Super Soul Sunday. From Kinsani. That's like, you know, the Oprah goes around with the Anele
and confronting people and making peace, all of that. Oh, that's beautiful.
My sole reason for the love I have for Redi, her unwavering truth, and she's fearless. I admire Redi so much. I remember she once went to work with no voice.
It's a guilt thing, that, hey? It's a guilt thing, and I don't know how to shake it off. I always feel like, come on, man, you should try a bit harder. Maybe you're not as sick as you think. Once you're there, it's going to get better.
It'll be fine.
You can't just miss work because you've got a cold. I'm like that. Even my maternity leave was imposed on me because I always feel I must work right up until the last day.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, what am I doing? It's so silly. It's stupid. It's time to lay off. I battle with, you know, you live this life and you constantly have this knot in your stomach and adrenaline and all. I don't know how, when I wake up very early in the morning to run. So people say, oh, now that you're not going to work every day, I'm sure you can come back home and take a nap.
Yeah, no.
I get nervous when I'm sleeping and the sun is out.
You're like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Even after a night of partying, sleeping during the day is just not an option.
I remember you were once stuck in terrible traffic because there was an accident and you parked the car at the side of the road and you put your taxis on and you ran to work.
Hey, that day, I dropped, Neo was new at play school. I dropped her off. It was a Monday. You can miss work on a Wednesday or
Not
you can miss work
on
on
a
a Friday
Monday.
and a Monday. So it was a Monday. And actually, there was an accident, and it was that, remember that initiative here, City of Joburg, where they were doing a car-free
Also, we
thing
must all catch like public transport.
The traffic that Monday, which was the first day, the show was starting at 9 o'clock. I'd already told our employers, but you know what, I'm not going to get there early. I'll just be there for the show. Just everybody just relax. I'm prepared. Don't. Hi, this thing is not moving. I can hear John Robbie. It's 10 to.
Yeah.
Whatever time. And I thought, this is not working. And that day, I happened to be wearing high heels because, you know, I used to be in my gym clothes.
Yes.
But thank goodness I had my gym bag in the car. I put on my, they were not even running shoes. They were gym shoes because there's a big difference.
Of course.
I just put those on and it was an uphill, hey? I was sweating and all of that. And I just had to be there. What were we going to do?
What's this urban legend of you and Thabo Mbeki facing off?
Man, you know that thing is so exaggerated.
Really?
Well, no.
It's not. Because here's the thing. I don't know. I didn't watch it myself.
Yeah.
But if I had to tell the story, I would.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is that we want to be in the middle of the story so much that you're like, hi, Kaloksan.
You know what? Let me tell you what I think.
Yeah.
I think at that moment it was big. But sometimes it is the people around the ministers and the presidents who make things big.
Yes.
You'll find that the person, it's not such an issue for them. I don't know. But what happened was, I was told not to ask him a question about HIV and AIDS. And that's that whole thing about truth. How do you, as a country that has the highest HIV/AIDS infections, at the time that ARVs were not available, all those things.
And it's early days.
Yeah.
We're still learning about it. We're not sure about ARVs.
Bona. And also, my question was relevant because the World Health Organization had just released a report about HIV/AIDS statistics in South Africa. So I asked him to respond to the report, and he said, I don't know, you must ask the World Health Organization. I said, come on, Mr. President. That was my...
Oh, come on.
You know, and that thing is such a normal... Come on, such a normal part of broadcasting. If you watch news programs, like, come on, you're not going to get... You know, that kind of thing. So, of course, he's poised and all of that. And then afterwards, I'm thinking, oh, this interview is finished. It's Sunday. I'm going to go have a glass of wine. And then his spokesperson tells me, you know what, next time you see him, just apologize for that. I'm like, what's going on? I remember it was Begu Kumal. And then the next day at the SABC, there are talks about who's this 25-year-old asking the president questions. And that thing annoys me. And I think that's why
the age thing.
Don't come there with the skewed, ugly power things.
Yeah.
Because you can use, you'll get respect, but you can use your age to oppress someone who's younger than you. That's an abuse of power. If you are an employer of a domestic worker and you use your position, you abuse of power. We've got power in so many areas. It's like going to Pick and Pay. You've got a cashier who's frustrated. They've been sitting there the whole day. It's a thankless job. And then you go and pick a fight with them. I mean, they've got to have made such a huge transgression. Pick your fight. Stop picking on people who, in terms of education level, financially, job satisfaction, are below you.
Because now you're not fighting because they're wrong.
Yeah.
You're fighting because you think you're better than them.
And if they want to fight back, they're not going to fight back in the way that they would fight back with their peers.
Because
they're going to hold back because they're
employed.
already intimidated by you. So I'm very careful about this power thing. But anyway, at the SABC, there was this thing, which was this young person, and I got very mad. What's my being 25 have to do with this?
You know, talk about my transgression, don't talk about my age.
Yeah, and then suddenly, I was being policed, and then I'd get a call. I mean, he denies that he did that, but Snooki did. Snooki Zigalala did. He did phone me once. I was interviewing Lindiwe Sisulu. She was housing minister, asking me what I'm going to ask the minister. I'm thinking, I don't know. I've been here for like 4 years. I don't know.
I'll
We're
see when I
talking
get
housing,
there.
so bona, just relax. And why am I getting the call? But suddenly, after that Mbeki interview, these calls happened so frequently that I'd get asked. I said, no, I'm not pitching for this. I'm not going to validate this thing, because when you play that game, you are making it a culture and the norm. So sometimes we need to take very big and hard decisions, like the SABC 8 did. And sometimes you do that, not because you want to be a hero, but because you need to know that when you cooperate with wrongdoing, you are making it normative.
Yeah, and you know what I like about what you're saying now is the fact that being policed as a broadcaster is not it may be reported now, but it's not something that's new, guys.
No.
Like, it's something that you're constantly having to duck and dive around, even outside of your employer, just people, Jay. Like, my aunt would be like, "Hi, look, you can't just call Umam Rebecca. I'm like, but she says it's fine that I call her Rebecca.
They don't know, but don't listeners do this. Redi, you are disrespectful. Minister, what is not that. Hey, we have conversations before we go on air, and these people are fine. Just relax.
Don't worry about it. She said I must call her Rebecca. I'm pretty sure I've cleared what I must call her. You win, just watch the show.
Exactly. And also what people don't understand is that people who come to this show, who come on our shows, they are brands. If you are Beyonce, you don't want when you are 40, someone say, Mama Beyonce.
Beyonce.
And I hear a talk show host doing those in Tate, Mang, Tate. There are people perhaps who want that, but others, it's their brand and they want it like that. So trust that as professionals, we go through these things. We discuss with their people. How is he comfortable me calling him? In fact, some insist. I find a lot of professors and doctors like, don't call me Professor Mang.
Because I know I'm a professor.
I'm William, I'm James, I'm Bongani, whatever. So I must say, I've seen Thabo Mbeki subsequently, and I don't think we've had an interview since that time. I've made requests and they were never. I mean, people are busy. You mustn't. I don't hype things.
When she's not saying there's beef. She's just saying there wasn't an interview.
Yeah, I've seen him at a wedding, at functions, and I'd go up to him and greet, and he'd be very polite, the perfect gentleman, and he'd call me by name. Hello, Redi. I saw him recently.
So it's the people around him.
Maybe it was him. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, you can't. People, man, are relaxing. These people are normal. Stop worshipping people.
They are human.
Stop deifying with, you can't do this, you can't. I mean, I interviewed someone, another minister, and he said something. I said, come on, that's not true. And after I said, I can't believe you said that. Did you? And yet, you actually, I like you because I could have said you're lying.
You're a liar.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think if we just tone it down a little, we start having confidence in ourselves and trust that we're part of the problem if we now make people gods and all of that. No, just relax, man.
Okay, I want to know, have you ever, I'm going to ask you a question and then you're going to tell me after the break the answer. Have you ever been nervous to, because I mean, you've interviewed the biggest names in the world. Surely there's one where you were like, oh.
One.
And there is a voice note from you. I promise you I'm going to play it. I know there's one where you're asking me and Redi how we handled racism and sexism in our broadcasting careers. In fact, I'm going to lead with that when we come back from the break. Welcome back to Real Talk on SABC3. The stage is yours. I promised you that I was going to play your voice note. I am not going to waste any time. Redi Tlhabi is here. Here's your voice note for her.
Good evening, ladies. My name is Vuyo Mpongwana. I just want to know, how do both of you deal with the chauvinism, the racism, and the drama of having a female boss, if ever? Because those are the things that once became a hindrance for me in my journey in becoming a media mogul. Great work.
Whew. And we both had a female boss who was wonderful, by the way.
Yeah.
You were like best friends with her.
Yeah, I know. Terry Folkvane was like a pillar. I loved her so much.
She's your person.
You know, she supported me. A lot of the things I achieved, I was able, like you doing, juggle radio, television, write, study, all
Become
of that.
a mother.
Because she just let me fly.
Yeah.
There were some difficult relationships with some managers, especially around, I once breastfed on air because, you know, you're going to ask a mom of a brand new child to come and do a show at 6 in the morning.
I'm a breastfeed.
Yeah, and I did say, Guti, you know that she feeds at 7. Why don't you ask some of the boys, because the time wasn't suited for me as a mother, and I did say, but it was, so, okay, I'll pitch, but my life's going to continue, and my child is not going to be deprived.
Racism and sexism?
You know what? The kind of racism that says, that would call me the K word and some like not cerebral.
I prefer that one.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that. But there is racism that is subliminal. It is found in middle-class settings. It is found amongst people who think they're not racist. It's found in corporate South Africa. I was in an exchange with somebody who talked about Thabo Mbeki's MA, that it's inferior, from an inferior university. And I thought, you probably don't call everybody's MA from Sussex University inferior. You don't question the quality of that qualification, but if it's Thabo Mbeki, the inferiority is assumed. And it's also that kind of conversation around, black people are getting into medical school with low marks. It's not true. It isn't true. If your
also,
marks are not... Yeah.
Sorry, Redi, you insulting another black person and you praise me.
Yeah.
You're not, I don't feel good.
Absolutely.
Keep your praise, but let's address what you just said about this person.
Don't come and tell me that you're not like I am like. So for me, the kind of you know, rough, uneducated type of crass thing, I don't have time for that. Life is too short. I'm 39. I've got things to do.
Yeah.
But the subliminal one, I address it because those people who often spew that don't believe that they're racist.
Yeah.
And that is the one that I think we must challenge.
Because they had 4 black people at their wedding.
Can I tell you? Because that is the one that determines who you source from, who your suppliers are, and who you employ. You're employing people who look and sound like you, and you don't think you're racist, and you say it's because they were the best in the job. What are you saying about everybody else? And think about it, corporate South Africa. You're talking about transformation, and you think it's about appointing token black people. Don't insult us. We're not tokens. It's about... But if everybody who's your service provider, from your person who does the day call,
everyone around you is white,
you're a
racist.
Think about it. It's subliminal. You are saying in a country that is majority black, you can't find one black person with whom to do genuine black business. That is the kind of thing that I speak out against, I address, and I don't walk away from it.
Sexism?
Joe, bring them, ne? You know what? A lot of people who are sexist don't read gender theory. They don't realize the little... I'm not saying I'm going to sit with textbooks. I don't sit with textbooks and read gender theory. I do it when I have to do an assignment. But the fact of the matter is this. I'm going to address black men for the moment.
Yeah.
Black men, when there's racism against them, they don't spend time saying, not all whites are racist. They don't. If one white person does something racist, they on him or her. They don't say it's not all of them. But with sexism, I don't know why they're so busy saying not all men are. We know not all men are like that.
And they say stuff like, yeah, are you sure you're not taking this personally? It's not because you're a woman that he said that. You like,
I am. No. Hello, dude. I'm taking it personally, professionally, but I'm taking it all those...
I'm taking it financially, economically.
Because, you see, in the same way that you say racism is structural, So is patriarchy and gender. And people who have that power are so oblivious to its noxious reach.
You know what my dad said to me? Because I'd said to him, you know, there's this guy who's just likes to undermine me, you know. And the thing is, I am actually his boss. So, but he'll just speak out of turn. And I want to pull him aside. My dad was like, no, because then you're going to disrupt the flow of life. Because now, when he starts speaking in front of people and undermining you, just be like, don't speak on my behalf, I'm fine. And then carry on speaking. And I did it.
Yeah. There's a way of addressing it. You've addressed it in a different way.
And I see my dad kind of made me handle it like a man would, you know, like, come.
I'm not done.
I'm not done. Because it's like, because now if you take him aside, now you'd be like, listen, I really think that you're undermining me when I'm trying to talk stuff. He's like, on that platform, he undermined you on. Better up.
I'll remember that.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I'll remember that.
I think we've got 2 minutes left, which is
No,
the saddest thing I've ever heard. But you have to answer my question. Who are you scared to interview?
Judges, anybody who's a judge, because they always carry themselves like, just loosen up, man. You can put a firecracker up there, just loosen up. So they intimidate me, judges. And then I did a panel discussion of the elders. It's a group that was started by Mandela. There was Kofi Annan, Mary Robinson, and all of that. And I just had a baby, Anele, so I wasn't looking my best, you know?
Yeah.
I was so nervous. I remember my papers just shaking like this. Fortunately, it was a pre-recorded show. And eventually I thought, you know what? Stop fighting this battle alone. Tell everyone about it. So in the middle of it, I said, guys, I'm sorry. I need to regroup. I need
nervous.
2 minutes. I need 2 minutes. I'm just too nervous. And they were like, hey, Archbishop Tutu there. And I had to remind myself of this thing that I believe. They're just human. 2 minutes later, after the break, I was on top of my game.
That is amazing, that you can find yourself in a vulnerable, and I love vulnerability because it's what reminds us that we're all human.
Yes.
In a vulnerable moment of weakness, as this powerhouse that you are, and you can just voice it.
Yeah, you know what? The fact of the matter is, you want an excellent job. If there is something that is an obstacle towards me achieving that, it will be a barrier towards me emotionally connecting with these people. So I need to confess. I need to say, guys, I'm not having a good moment. And I appeal to your generosity of spirit to give me just 1 minute. I'll come back and I'll sort it out.
Last and final question before we say goodbye. Who reminds you of yourself the most? It could be somebody, it has to be somebody in entertainment, right? Yeah. But it could be radio, TV, actress, singer, just even a sports person. Who most reminds you of yourself when you're like, you know what?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think from a personality point of view, Siafana, but I think I adore and worship Nina Simone. So when I read her bio, I tried to find little things that, I think she was a deep thinker.
Yes.
She reflected. And she was committed to social justice, and it comes out. She hated injustice, and that's what drove her mad and made her temperamental, and all of that. That's as far as I can go.
Nina Simone.
Yeah, and
I see it because you are that person. I don't know about your voice.
I'm not as
though.
crazy as you.
You know, she once like chased someone with a knife because they owed her money.
I know. I heard about that. And then she'd stop in the middle of a song and says, that sounds as enthusiastic as a newborn baby. Start it all over again.
And on that note, we have to say goodbye. It has been an absolute treat. I don't know if she's going to New York. I don't know when she's leaving.
Next year.
But we'll be at the airport to say bon voyage, Redi, bon voyage. We'll see you guys tomorrow as we celebrate Nelson Mandela Day. This has been a good hour. Thank you. Bye-bye.